My generation looks back and gives thanks for the success of D-Day. But those taking part had no knowledge that it would be successful. They had to fight for that success, and they sacrificed so much. Whatever we think about today's challenges, and there are many, I think it's right that we remember what those gallant men did over 70 years ago. And it puts into perspective the challenges that we face. But it should inspire us with generous hearts to serve the wider community. It is very fitting, as part of this 70th anniversary celebration, the end of the war, that we have this ceremony here in the Pierhead building, a very special building for us here in Cardiff. I want to give a special welcome to the French Ambassador, Her Excellency Sylvie Berman, and also a very warm welcome to our dear friend, the French Consul, Marie Barroso Navarro. Finally, can I just make reference to the fact that last year, at the National Assembly, we held a very important event on the steps of the Senate. You can just see it behind me, to affirm our common values in the face of terrorism. After the dreadful attacks on the Charlie offices, we held a ceremony at Marie's request, and were absolutely amazed by the turnout. And we were proud to affirm our common values, the values that those gallant men here today fought for, and that we were standing up in our small way there on the steps. Imagine our horror then that the appalling act of terrorism was revisited in Paris in November. And so I now have the honour, but sad duty as well, I suppose, to present to Her Excellency a book of condolence to the victims of the Paris attack, which we opened in November, so that Welsh men and women could express their deep sympathy. Ambassador, I'd ask you to come forward and receive the book.
Lord Lieutenant, ministers, assembly members, ladies and gentlemen, dear veterans, I'm very pleased and honoured to be in Cardiff today to present 12 veterans with the insignia of Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur. My heartfelt thanks to the Deputy Presiding Officer for inviting me here to the National Assembly for Wales, to this beautiful Pierhead building, and the Secretary of State for Wales, the Lord Lieutenant, and the Lord Mayor also, and thank you for those who are here today. I would also like to convey the French people's deepest gratitude for all the expressions of solidarity and support shown by the Welsh people following the horrific attacks in Paris. On the 6th of June 2014, on the beach of Ouistreham, in the presence of Her Majesty the Queen, French President François Hollande sent a strong message of gratitude to British and other Allied soldiers. To mark the 70th anniversary of D-Day, the French President decided to award the Légion d'honneur, the Legion of Honor, to all the British veterans who took part in the liberation of France during the Second World War. The Légion d'honneur, created by Napoleon in 1802, is France's highest distinction and honors exceptional acts of bravery and devotion by all those who have served by France, whether they be French by blood or by spilled blood. Gentlemen, through the insignia of Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, France wants to thank you for your absolute commitment to freedom. By taking part in the Normandy landings in June 1944, in the Royal Air Force, the Royal Artillery, the Royal Marines, the Parachute Regiments, the Tank Crew, the South Wales Borders Army Regiments, and the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, respectively, you played an active role in liberating our country, and you do us an honor by being here today. Many of you, sometimes barely 20 years old, landed on Gold Beach, Sword Beach, or in Ranville. As proof of your great sacrifice, some of you were critically wounded. One of you was taken prisoner of war. We owe our freedom and our security to your dedication, because you were ready to risk your lives to ensure a better and brighter world. Honor is the word that springs to my mind when I read your stories, stories born of so much courage, and when I read about all your French and British companions who made their fate on French soil, all your comrades in arms you so loyally remember. Over them, death shall have no dominion. This ceremony doesn't just pay tribute to men who were ready to give their lives to liberate us. It sends a message to every British person that we shall not forget. To salute the bravery displayed by the British during the landings is also to pay tribute to Britain's strength in holding out alone against the enemy. I would also like to pay special tribute to the defiance shown in World War II by the people of Wales, who paid an especially heavy price during the Battle of Britain. From July 1940 to March 1944, the Blitz took the lives of more than 350 innocent civilians in the Cardiff district, and nearly 1,000 across Wales. 75 years on, we remember the worst night of the Blitz for Cardiff citizens. The bombing raid of the night of the 2nd of January 1941 saw more than 150 killed. Nearly as many innocent civilians lost their lives in the year 2015 in the streets of Paris. They fell victim to the same brutal and indiscriminate violence. You too faced a systematic attempt to spread violence and target innocent civilians in your country. By your bravery and dedication, you ensured a bright and secure future for the peoples of Europe. Your actions sealed our two nations' destinies, restoring our hope and freedom. In World War II, as in the past few months, the struggle against terror has been, and will remain, a central plank of cooperation between France and Britain. The people of France are immensely grateful for the tireless commitment of their long-standing ally. This is why we shall always keep the heroes of June 1944 fresh in our memories. May your commitment continue to inspire us all in our hearts and in our actions. Long live Britain, long live France, long live Franco-British friendship. Thank you.
I now invite the Lord Lieutenant of South Glamorgan, Dr. Peter Beck.
Bonne Légion, bonne Légion, Mesdames, Messieurs, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege and honour for me to be here today. I'm sure a lot of you are not actually terribly sure what Lord Lieutenants are all about, and they quite often get mixed up with other notaries like high sheriffs and things like that. So I thought I'd just explain what I was doing here, really. the Lord Lieutenant of the county is the Queen's personal representative in the county. So I'm here to represent Her Majesty the Queen, who wants to be represented on occasions like this, when we honour members of all our main armed services, all represented. As an ex-Royal Naval Surgeon Commander, I'm sorry to hear it's only the RMVR who were there, but I'm sure the big Navy was sailing off coast as well, so perhaps we should all be recognised for that. But we in Wales are tremendously proud of the great achievement that all you gentlemen have made, and I'm afraid I don't remember it myself. I was only 3 in 1944, but I know and have read about it, and we will never ever underestimate your absolute valiant efforts. And I think it's wonderful that you're being honoured by France with the Légion d'honneur, totally fitting. Well done, all of you, on behalf of Her Majesty. I'm sure she's just as proud as I am. Well done.
The Secretary of State for Wales, the Right Honourable Stephen Crabbe.
Well, Prananda, good afternoon. On behalf of UK Government and as Secretary of State for Wales, let me just say what an incredible honour and privilege it is to be here amongst you this afternoon. And on my way down from Westminster this morning on the train, I had the opportunity to take some time to read through the background profiles and stories of each one of these 12 amazing men who participated in the Normandy landings and the liberation of France, and to just read up a little bit about their actions and their bravery, and an incredibly humbling thing to do that. And it felt very personal to me. My grandfather, who's no longer with us, he was a Royal Marine, and I'm conscious that at least a couple of you here served in the Royal Marines as well. He was a Royal Marine who participated in the landings. My father-in-law, again, who's no longer with us, grew up in Paris during the Nazi occupation. He was a teenager by the time that the war ended and Paris was liberated. And I remember my late father-in-law, who was one of these very traditional, proud Frenchmen. Forgive me, Ambassador, but my father-in-law was a very proud French mayor who he would refuse to speak his perfect English on French soil. But when we did talk about his memories of growing up in Nazi-occupied Paris during the war, he would then always talk with this huge affection, but particularly for the British, sometimes for the American, but particularly for the British soldiers who liberated France. So for me, an occasion like today does feel quite personal, and we're in a period where we do look back on the anniversary of the ending of the Second World War, the liberation of Paris, and we recognise the amazing bravery and acts of dedication and service that these amazing gentlemen did. But we're also in a time when, once again, we're standing shoulder to shoulder with France, thinking about our mutual security, thinking about actions that we need to take together, shoulder to shoulder in partnership to protect the liberties that we enjoy in our nations. And I'm really delighted to see Her Excellency, the Ambassador of France, with us again today. She's shown a huge interest in Wales, and in the short time that she's been the Ambassador of France to the UK, she has really put Welsh-French relations, not just British-French relations, at the top of her agenda. And that's something that I'm keen to encourage, and I know that Welsh Government also want to see that. And this an event like today helps cement that, I think. So we're really grateful to see you here, Your Excellency, and Lord Lieutenant, Minister from Welsh Government, and Deputy Presiding Officer from the Welsh Assembly, and of course the Lord Mayor of Cardiff. Really good to see you all here, and as I say, thank you very much for inviting me to share it with you.
And now, our last speaker is the Welsh Minister for Public Services, Leighton Andrews.
Diolch Mary am y cyflwyniad a diolch i'r Llysgenna'r Berman am y cyfle i siarad yn y digwyddiad hynod bwysig hwn. Thank you, Mary, for the introduction, and thank you to Her Excellency Sylvie Berman for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm delighted to participate in this ceremony honouring our Welsh veterans who showed courage and determination to help combat Nazism over 70 years ago. Through your actions and the actions of millions of other young men and women, you defeated the forces of fear and tyranny and helped maintain the foundations of the free society that we have and value today. And this story is personal to me as well, because like you, my father landed on the Normandy beaches on D-Day, and indeed 70 years ago today he was still serving in Germany in the army of occupation. He had a further 2 months to serve before returning home to Wales in March 1946. Indeed, I recognise at least 4 of the medals I see on display before me today. In commemorating the bravery of those who served, we look back also and remember the horrors of the Second World War. And of course, we've been commemorating Holocaust Memorial Day, and that's why the work of the Holocaust Educational Trust, which every year takes over 160 Welsh students to visit the Nazi death camps at Auschwitz and Birkenau in Poland, is so important. And we support the scheme as we see the value of lessons from Auschwitz in helping young people to consider issues of racism and anti-Semitism today. But as others have said, today's ceremony is an excellent example of how the tribulations of the past have brought Wales and France closer together. We know that Wales will never forget our brave soldiers, RAF and our Royal Navy personnel and Royal Marine personnel who fought valiantly during the Second World War to protect our freedoms. And honouring you gives a unique opportunity to bring us together as a nation to remember the bravery of all of those who served and to remember the sacrifices that were made 70 years ago to protect democracy and the freedoms that we enjoy today. So on behalf of the First Minister and the Welsh Government, I would like to thank the French Government for presenting you with the Légion d'honneur, France's highest distinction. Wales is proud of you. Diolch yn fawr.
de la République et en vertu des pouvoirs qui nous sont conférés, nous vous faisons chevalier de la Légion d'honneur. Au nom du président de la République et en
Wow, we made his day.
We've spent a lot of time on holidays and things in France. We like the French people very much, and to make some contribution to the winning back their country from the Nazi tyranny was great, you know, just by chance that I happened to be in the right place at the right time. Yeah.
What does it mean to you, not just you, but your family as well, to receive an award like this?
Well, they're all delighted, absolutely. They're all saying today how much it's meant to them too. Yes, my four daughters, two are here. One is doing a lecture tour, so she isn't here, and the other one's in India at the moment. But you know, they're all here, either in thought or they. And my dear wife, of course, Julie, she's with me side by side all the time. So I'm very lucky indeed, in my old age, to have so much.
How important do you think it is generally that people who have fought for freedom, how important do you think it is that they are rewarded with things like the Légion d'honneur today?
Yeah, sorry?
How important do you think that it is that people who have fought for freedom like yourself are rewarded with medals like the Légion d'honneur? Like
well, I think I just sort of pleased. It just is marvellous, really. But and I guess we do represent a lot of people who can't be here because they've died. I mean, there are lots of people who have over the years been eligible for this, and all we can do is to try and represent them as well. It's not the same as them having it, of course, but so I suppose there are many names that who we represent as well. So the principle of uniting the two countries together in this way is great. Yeah. Well, I think it's just fine. The feeling today is one of warmth and comradeship, and that's just great. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
It really shows a great friendship we have between Wales and France. And we were also very touched to see that every speaker and every veteran had a close personal relationship between France and Wales. And it was really fantastic and very warm and touching, this particular ceremony.
How do you feel to be able to all veterans who have fought for freedom?
We are also grateful, and the whole of France is grateful to this generation. Personally, I am even more grateful as I come from Picardy, and my grandparents were the victim of the occupation. Both my grandfathers were deported to Germany as forced laborers, and my grandmother often recalls how she was woken up in the night, you know, without shoes or a coat, and forced to go and off cold from trains. And so I'm personally very grateful, and I was really touched today.